Shang had caused this huge disaster. The man frantically called his daughters and sons-in-law to come help, but not a single one of them would answer. See how obedient they are. Their father told them not to come back, and so they're really not coming back. Meanwhile, Cheng's and Sanzi's families had already stormed into Zhe Zhang's home. They smashed the place to bits. The family's bankbook, 2 fat pigs, a plow ox, over 10 laying hens, and more than 20 bags of rice patty were all divided up between the two families right then and there. I secretly snuck a couple of looks, and saw the bodies of Auntie Cheng's little grandson and Sanchizi just lying there in the Zhe family's home. Seeing that my family had returned, Zhe Zhang's husband quickly tried to shift the blame, pointing at my parents and shouting, "If your two families hadn't stolen my family's loquats, how could you have been poisoned? My family is responsible too. Why don't you go get money from them?" That's right, King Hua is about to take his college entrance exams. Go to their house and demand money. If they don't give it to you, then go to his school and cause a scene. Make such a fuss that their King Hua can't even attend school. What Kui Zhang's husband said wasn't wrong. If it weren't for my family's tree, none of this would have happened. And sure enough, Cheng's and San Laizi's families all turned to look at us, their eyes filled with a crazed, predatory glint. I couldn't help but think to myself that no good deed goes unpunished. The reward for being kind is just getting walked all over. Looking at the crowd of onlookers that had gathered, I stepped forward, my eyes welling up. I suddenly gave a deep bow to everyone, and then asked in a loud voice, "In all these years, is there a single family in this village that hasn't tasted our loquats? My grandpa and my parents have always treated you villagers like family and never stopped anyone from coming to pick some for themselves. Now, I'm not asking for you to stand up for us. I just hope someone can speak a single word of fairness." As I said this, my voice grew more emotional. Those loquat trees, it's true, our family planted them, but we never invited Auntie Cheng's family or the other to come steal them, did we? They came to our home to steal our loquats. We haven't even held them accountable for our losses yet. Now, they've gone and poisoned themselves. And they have the nerve to come demand money from us, the victims? What kind of sense does that make? I shot a warning look at the crowd, my voice turning cold again. If my family really has to pay for this today, then from now on, whenever I see someone spraying pesticides in their fields, I'll go take a bite and then lie down to demand compensation. After all, the crops belong to you all, and they're the ones who sprayed the pesticides. Even if I was stealing, if something happened to me from eating them, it would still be your responsibility. These words made the villagers, who were previously uninvolved, start to mutter uneasily. From within the crowd, 5th grade uncle, who had been silent all this time, came forward, trembling and leaning on his cane. He was one of the most senior elders in the village. His cloudy eyes swept over the crowd, finally landing on King Hua's face. "King Hua, what you're saying makes sense, but you also have to think about your family's loquats over the years. Did everyone really steal them? When your grandfather was alive, he used to say that your family's fruit was everyone's fruit. If any child was craving some and picked a few, it wasn't considered stealing. Now you're making a big deal about the word, stealing. Isn't that too heartless? 5th grade uncle, I respect you as an elder, but sharing the fruit was a gesture of goodwill. Taking without asking is stealing. My grandfather was kind, but he never said people could take as much as they wanted and then turn around and blame us. Today, they came to steal our fruit and got sick. Now they're demanding I pay them? What kind of logic is that? That may be so, but the villagers are poor. Your family is well off, can't you be a little more accommodating? If you really start settling scores, the community will fall apart. The community fell apart a long time ago. I understood that from the moment they stood at my door demanding money. Kindness doesn't earn you respect, it just gets you bullied. Suddenly, a cold laugh came from the crowd. It was Zhao Laowu from the east end of the village. He was carrying a green bottle in his hand. He staggered forward. "King Hua, you say the community's fallen apart? Then tell me, when your grandfather built his house back then, he took up half a row of my family's land. Did your family ever pay a single cent? And the year before last, your dad chopped down 2 of my family's poplar trees for firewood. Did my family say anything? Now, your family's few lousy loquat trees have caused a death. And you have the nerve to call yourselves the victims?" That moment, I was stunned because I had never heard my family mention these things. But my father suddenly stepped forward and retorted sharply, saying that the housing plots back then were allocated by the village authorities. Zhao Laowu's family had already received proper compensation for that half row of land. As for those 2 poplar trees, that was because the Zhao family's son was caught red-handed chopping down our fruit trees, and Zhao Laowu's own father agreed to give them as compensation. My father grew more agitated as he spoke, stating that if the other side wanted to dig up old grudges, then they might as well lay everything out in the open and clear it all up in front of everyone today. Zhao Laowu was left speechless by this evidence-based rebuttal, his face flushing bright red. But he still tried to save face, craning his neck and muttering relentlessly about false kindness and things like that. Just then, sister-in-law Chen, a villager who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. "Zhao Laowu, stop stirring up trouble here. Back when your wife was having a difficult childbirth, it was King Hua's grandmother who ran 10 li overnight to get the midwife, and she didn't ask for a single cent from your family. For you to say something like this now, have you no conscience?" Zhao Laowu's face turned red, and he mumbled as he retreated back into the crowd. His words were like a pebble tossed into a lake, creating more ripples. Sanzi's cousin pushed his way forward, pointed at my father's nose, and cursed. "Your family planted the loquat trees by the road. Weren't you just trying to tempt people to pick them? Now that something's happened, you want to wash your hands of it?" No way, my grandfather planted the trees, and the road is public property. Are you saying we should have moved the trees? So you think you're justified in stealing? The crowd began to chatter all at once. Some brought up old grievances from over a decade ago. Some said that since our family had a good harvest that year, we should have shared more with the village. Others insisted that since we were rich, we should pay more. The villagers who had been wavering, I got sidetracked by these old issues again. I looked at all the faces, so familiar yet so strange. Suddenly, I felt a chill run down my spine. I remembered how Grandma always said the villagers were simple and honest. Now it seems that beneath that simplicity lies scheming and jealousy. Fine, if you want to dig up old dirt, let's dig it all up. Which family owes us money and hasn't paid it back? Which family borrowed our grain and never returned it? Which family's child was able to go to school because my dad covered their tuition? Let's settle every single one of these debts today. Those words were like a bucket of cold water, sobering up some of the villagers who still wanted to cause trouble. They looked at each other. Was there any family here who hadn't been helped by the Shao family? If we really started keeping score, they'd be the ones in the wrong. The villagers who were gathered around just to watch the drama couldn't help but murmur amongst themselves after hearing what I said. What King Hawa's family said really does make sense. We all plant trees in the village, are we supposed to just cut them down? And when we're growing vegetables, who doesn't use a little bit of pesticide? If we really make King Hawa's family pay up, then from now on, everyone in the village will start doing the same thing. How are we supposed to farm then? I watched as the villagers chimed in, one after another. Tide was gradually turning in my family's favor. My parents exchanged a look and hardened their resolve. Taking my grandma by the hand, they walked straight to Jay Kuiwa's front door. And they just sat right down on the stone doorstep, taking a stance that they wouldn't leave until they got justice. My mom, especially, stood right in front of Jay Kuiwa's house and started yelling at the top of her lungs. She demanded that Jay Kuiwa's husband come out and make things clear. He's the one who kept claiming the Shao family's fruit harmed his family. So today, we're going to settle this account once and for all. She also demanded that they first pay up for all the different kinds of fruit they've secretly swiped from our orchard over the years. Every single piece, calculated and paid for. And from this day forward, you can save yourselves the trouble of shamelessly coming over to pick them, so you don't eat something, get sick, and blame it on the Shao family again. My Shao family can't afford to take the blame for this. After shouting, my mother whipped her head around, and glared at those villagers who were just insisting we should pay up. She pointed right at them without holding anything back and said, "And as for you lot, don't you be in such a hurry to leave. Over the years, how many loquats, how many plums, peaches, persimmons, and pomegranates have you all picked from our trees? You add it all up, and it's not a small amount. Today, while everyone's here, you can settle your debts as well. From now on, we'll go our separate ways. Don't you even think about touching a single piece of our fruit ever again. That way, if one day someone in your family eats fruit from our trees and gets a headache, a fever, or if something terrible happens, I wouldn't be able to talk my way out of it, even if I had 1,000 mouths." My mother's words made the faces of those villagers, the ones who always loved to take advantage, turn red and then pale. Zhao Luosi's wife couldn't hold back anymore. She jumped out and shrieked, "Oh, so now you're accusing us of stealing your fruit? It was your own mother-in-law who said we could. Feel free to pick some. How can you go back on her word now?" Hearing this, my father started trembling with rage. He pointed at her and said, "Feel free to pick some," is just a polite thing to say. But you people, you carried them home by the basketful. Last year, our biggest plum tree was stripped bare of all its fruit overnight. Wasn't that your son's doing? Did you see him? Do you have any proof? Without proof, it's just slander. I saw that Zhao Sis' wife was completely unreasonable. I walked over to my grandmother's side and pulled out a shabby little notebook from my pocket. I flipped open a page, pointed to it for everyone to see, and said, "You want proof?" My grandma started keeping records 3 years ago, and today, I brought the ledger with me. It says which family picked what and when. For example, in May of 2022, how much was picked. It's all written down right here. 25 Jin. She always said we should remember the good deeds of others. I never thought it would end up being used to record their bad deeds. Just as I finished speaking, Zhao Sis' wife rushed forward to grab the notebook, but I sidestepped her. She shouted that the ledger was fake. I just gave a cold laugh. I flipped open a page and read aloud the types and amount of produce Zhao Sis' wife had picked. Whispers rippled through the crowd. The families of Erjang and Sanzi looked mortified. Erjang's wife rushed out and yelled, "So what if we recorded it? The fruit would just rot anyway. We were helping you by picking it." "Helping? After you picked it, you called our fruit sour. You called my family stingy. Is that what you call helping?" "King Hawa, last year when my kid was sick, it was your dad who fronted the 3,000 yuan for the medical bills. I've always remembered that. Today, I'm standing with your family on this. Uncle Lu, fellow villagers. I, Shao King Hawa, am not here today to collect a debt. I'm just asking for justice. Stealing is stealing. Harming is harming. Just because we're kind doesn't mean we deserve to be bullied." My words, combined with the densely written pages of the notebook, silenced the villagers. A few troublemakers still tried to snatch the notebook. I immediately put the ledger away and threatened everyone that if this wasn't settled today, I would hand this notebook over to the village head and to the town officials. Let everyone see how the people in our village repay kindness. Wouldn't we lose our civilized village title? Everyone in the village knew my family was easygoing. For years, whenever the melons, fruits, and vegetables in our fields were ripe, someone would always come over to take advantage, especially those few families who were just kicking us while we were down. They regularly took far more than their share from us. Not only did they eat it themselves, but they would eat their